What would happen if Lance and Cheech collabed on a fly pattern? Well, guess what? We'll show you. This is a super cool little flying ant pattern using an awesome little midge saddle that we'll tell you about. Bargain. Awesome.
Yeah, that's a big brown.
This is going to be a real cool fly. A few weeks back, Lance and I were chatting about, what a cool little ant pattern would be. So we just kind of pieced this together verbally. And so we kind of did collab on it. I came up and tied it. We both agree that it's going to be a pretty killer little bug. And just, I don't know, since it's not a bionic ant or anything, but it is kind of a flying ant. Maybe we'll call it the Galactic Ant or something like that. All right, I've got a size 14 dry fly hook in the vise. Just dress that with some black thread. And the body on this is going to have a hot spot and a body out of foam. So I'm just going to take some of this fettuccine foam. This is a peach one. And I'm just going to come in here and barely tie that in. I don't want to bulk up my hook too much. So I'm just going to barely tie that in about right there. Okay. So that's just going to be a little hot spot for this fly. So I'll trim it off about right there. The next one is just going to be some 2mm black foam that we're going to tie for the body. My dog's barking at me. Goodness gracious. Squatch, you're not that tough. Told you. Okay, so I've taken a little piece of foam that's roughly, the same width as the hook gap, and I've cut a little notch out of it, and I'm just going to kind of attach that right here. I'm going to cover up the rest of that foam first, maybe. Okay, so we're going to tie that in right here. And we're just going to kind of wrap that forward a little bit. So I'm just creating kind of a wide space here. And I'm going to tie in a little overwing and also some hackle. So get your favorite floaty material. There's, EP, there's trigger point. This is just like some poly yarn stuff. And this is important. So I've got my thread all the way at the front of this, right where it's touching the foam. And if I catch that fiber right there, I'll advance my thread back and I'll just pull that over and just keep wrapping. So there we have that. And I'm just going to cut it about that long, maybe a little shorter. No, that's good. Now I've got these really cool midge-size brown saddles, and I'm going to farm out like a size 16 or 18 hackle. This is a size 14 hook, but I'm going to wrap two hackle sections on this, kind of like some of the foam ant patterns you see. So I'm just going to tie that in right here. And then I'm going to leave my thread on the back of this. So on the back of that clump, I'm going to wrap this hackle forward just with like two loose turns. And I'm going to wrap it back on top of itself. Catch this with my thread and then wrap my thread through that hackle. And it makes it super, super durable. So once that hackle's tied in, all right, that's off. Just gonna advance my thread to the next tie-in section. So this is where it kind of gets a little funky. Make a little kind of section of foam there, and I'm going to wrap this foam forward all the way to right behind the eye. Just like that. And now I will take that same hackle and do the same thing. Now I'm going to do the same thing that we did the back of the fly with the back hackle with the front. So leave my thread behind everything, wrap my hackle loosely forward, and then just wrap it back on top of itself. Catch it with thread, wrap up through, and we're in. So as you can see, 2 sections of hackle, a little wing mostly for the angler to see, and I'm actually just going to whip finish that right behind that head, but I'll just trim that to shape first. Head's going to be about like that. Try to wiggle that so it doesn't catch too many fibers. And then you can put a little dab of head cement there. So there you have it. There's a little Galactic Ant pattern. It's got a lot of floaty, buoyant properties, and you can tie about 4 billion of them with one of these midge saddles.